let's just sew whatever. We are going to get started cutting out the pattern pieces for the Simplistic Sling. This is by Rosa Patterns. This is Alexis's newest pattern release.
I'm not sure.
Oh my god, that scared me. I wasn't talking to her. Anyway, so this is like a nice medium-sized sling bag that is a very sleek look. I feel like Alexis is known for very, I don't want to say simple because they're definitely not simple, but maybe elegant patterns with minimal going on. So I'm gonna see how much more I can make this look. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm gonna try and keep it fairly elegant as well. But I do think I'm gonna add a slip pocket to the back of this. So that will be my one change, but I also think that the front of this is large enough that you could make it into a zippered pocket as well. Alright, so I'm just double checking my test square. I should have done that before I started cutting, but here we are. I always like to add these little notches to my pattern so that I have plenty of room to overlap. Okay. And so I've got these like, oh, perfect. These are little test swatches. I'm not sure if you can see, but this fabric has like glitter throughout it, like a silver shimmer, and it's water resistant, but not waterproof. Eventually it kind of soaks through. So I was thinking I wanted to make this bag with cork and with fabric. So I've got waterproof cotton lining, and then I'd have this for the exterior. So I'd be doing the gusset and the strap and the back with this. But like if you wanted to add a zippered pocket to the front of this or what have you, I would say probably cut these pieces separately and then cut two of your lining out of piece C, so that's your zipper pocket lining. Your lining would come up a little bit shorter so it's not so bulky, and then you could add zipper tabs so that your zipper isn't end to end. Or you might even be able to use the lining pieces to construct the exterior as well. So just throwing that out there, so that if you're thinking of a way to make this even more of a useful bag, you could do that. I also have this one that would look really cool. The struggle is real. I might even just do this one because like it's almost more obvious that there's glitter in there. I could do like that. Do like that. I think I like that. I'm gonna do this one. I could still use that like fuchsia color. That would be really pretty. But I might use like a purple speckled cork. If you're not interested in like picking out fabrics, feel free to skip this portion. But I know a lot of people are never sure what they want to do, so sometimes it's helpful So like that's really pretty with it, but it almost dulls it, and this like shimmer here is not quite my favorite in reaction to the shimmer and sparkle on the accent fabric I'm using. I think that this still matches really well, so I don't need to change my lining choice. Go ahead and cut this off of there. I'm testing out how I like this fabric, how it interfaces, how it sews, etc. So yeah, we'll use this. Let me turn my heat press on, get that started. And then let's see, I have like a simple black would look pretty. I thought I had more cork than this. I could also try and use waxed canvas. I don't know though. That's really pretty with it. I don't think I'll use waxed canvas right now. I have this blue shimmer. It's really pretty with it, but doesn't quite go. I wish I had like a navy cork. That would look really nice. No, no, no. All right, I think I'm happy with this choice. It's a really pretty holographic, well, just like a rainbow shimmer. So it's super subtle, but mostly just the natural cork. But I'm also struggling because the strap is not webbing. I guess I could cut that out. I'll cut the pattern out, we'll finish that, and we'll talk about options. So the lining is pieced together. So we want to make sure that we don't pick anything that's way too bulky, or sewing the binding to finish the bag might be a little bit difficult. And then, like I said, the strap is really cool. It's all your exterior fabric. So like a lot of slings lately have had webbing, and Erica's does not. She has geniusly, as always, created this like lining side panel so that your card slots and your zipper pocket aren't bulking up the side seams of the bag, making it super domestic friendly. She's very good at that. If you're using a cotton fabric, you will want to use just a simple woven interfacing on your piece. And then we've got our stabilizer for our strap. This one is just Decaville Light, but I will probably be using Sofuse Plus. You could also potentially use fleece or foam if you wanted, but it's not a big enough section of the strap, I guess, that you would definitely want to do that. So I'm tapering out my little connector piece. I'm continuing to cut that. And then we've got our main panel stabilizer, which again is Decaville Light, but I'll be using Sofuse Plus. I think depending on the materials you were using, you could use foam or fleece for that, but it would add a lot of puff to the bag. So it's an option, just keep in mind how you want the final product to look. But you definitely don't want to skip out on the stabilizer, because that's really going to help the bag take shape. Along with your binding, of course, but this is most important. Oh yeah, okay. I was like, there is also a cut list I forgot to print, but I didn't forget. It's here. So for the cut list, as always, I like to faux laminate my cut pieces. And we'll have that for later. Okay, so here's piece E, piece E. I've already cut out my notched corners there, so I don't need to notch these. One. And then the strap is 3 pages long. I kind of wish this was given as measurements and like a gradient line. Like you could line your ruler up to cut it at a graded line, but it is not given as such. That, and I do think it's a little more beginner friendly to have the actual pattern piece. I'm just selfish. This bag could absolutely be made with webbing. I would say what you'd want to do is maybe cut A4 and A3 out of vinyl, follow the instructions for it, and just include webbing in that strip. But totally not necessary. I do really like the back connector, how it's reminiscent of the sliding strap that's super popular nowadays, but looks again a little more elegant. Okay. So make sure that you're lining these up in the correct order, matching A4 to A4, A3 to A3, and so on. So that is all of the paper pattern pieces. I'm gonna kind of look it over, lay out my pieces. I'm thinking for my strap, I could make it out of waterproof cotton for the entire piece. Because cork is so expensive. If you make that whole strap out of cork, whoo, that's a lot of cork. So you can see That is a very long pattern piece. It's about 44 to 45 inches, so keep that in mind. I absolutely think that you could cut this out of a cotton woven print as well if you preferred to just make it out of all cotton. So we've got our strap that we need to cut 2 exteriors, our lining, cut 2. This is our stabilizer, so I'm going to set this in a different pile. This is lining, this is stabilizer. Okay. Now I'm going to sit here and contemplate, do I want something super fancy? Do I want to cut out 2 of them and show you how to make it out of like clear and frosted? I don't know. So I have this fun frosted jelly here too. And I'm like, how cute would that be? But it would make it a little less elegant and a little more fun. So that's my struggle currently. I think I'm going to stick to my original plan because that pink looks good with that cork, looks good with this. I'm going to go ahead and iron this really quick. Isn't quite enough. This would also be a really fun bag for Theratex from Fabric Therapy. There we go, that's better. So it had no problems with the heat press, like, sweet. All right, let's see. Do we want to go this way? I saw a really cool trick from my friend Emily, or M, that I follow on Instagram and got to meet in Tennessee, where she makes like a finder for her pattern piece. So she cuts the shape out of construction paper and then takes the construction paper and kind of lines up where she wants that panel to go. So if you're not good at kind of eyeballing what your piece might look like, that's a really fun way to do that. So I'm like, do I cut it on an angle? Ooh, it's got to be an angle. These pieces are big enough for like connectors on a backpack or something. Yeah, let's do it. So then you could trace this out first. I'm just going to use my rotary cutter and go really slow and careful around those edges. This is my main panel. I also would like to say that if you are not good with a rotary cutter, there's no way to get better unless you practice. 7 years of making bags, and for like the first 4 of them, I was not a fan of cutting with a rotary cutter. So, for our slip pocket on the back, we are going to do some bag making alchemy. So, I am going to make a mark on this pattern piece 1/2 inch above this dashed line and 1/2 inch below. So I'm turning this dashed line into where my slip pocket will be. Now if you are going to be adding a zipper, you would not have to worry about adding this dashed line, because your zipper would take up the space that you're taking away with your seam allowance. With a slip pocket, I'm taking away, I'm not giving back. So we would need to cut our slip pocket bottom half, the part that's actually going to be a pocket, fold that at the very top line that we have drawn. So we're adding a 1/2 inch seam allowance, basically. You can add a smaller seam allowance if you wish, but this is going to be what I'm doing. So we can take our piece of cork, vinyl, whatever you'd like, and we're going to lay this along the top edge. This becomes the bottom half of our bag and our slip pocket. I know my cutting looks awkward, but it works for me. I'm not judging how you cut. Okay? Just throwing that out there. So, we are going to want to cut 2 lining pieces out of this. And now we want to fold this on the second line, or cut it in half, whatever you'd like to do. This is what we want to cut the top half of the slip pocket out of. We can also line this edge up with that fold line and cut it that way. And luckily, if our pieces are a little bit bigger in the end, we can line it up with our pattern piece to make sure the size is correct. So I only need the one top exterior for this because one of our lining pieces is going to become the underside of this panel. And then the other lining piece is going to become the other half of the slip pocket. So we'll sew these right sides together, flip it down, and then there is our slip pocket. You've got a little kind of hidden slip pocket. Keep in mind, when we're adding our back slide strip onto this back panel, if you don't want to see your stitches through the lining, or if you don't want to completely close off your pocket, you're going to want to add your back strap connector to this piece first, then add your top lining, sew it together, flip it, top stitch it, and then right sides together over your piece. If you are worried about kind of how the bag might sit with the connector being up that high, honestly, I don't think it'll matter because this is towards your back and the D-rings are secured to the side, so it's not going to be like gaping on either side. That's just my brain working. So that is all I need out of this right now. So I'm going to set this aside and put it in my lining pile, and I'll work on that a little bit more later. Right now I'm going to look at my cut list to figure out the size pieces I need for my gusset. Sorry. So I only need one gusset piece, and then I need 2 zipper panels. So I'm going to line that up. Flip that around. So I know that 3 of my sides are nice and straight, and I can trim off the top edge. And then this is going to get some Decaville light as well. It doesn't look like we use any Decaville heavy in the pattern. So then we have our zipper panel. We're going to cut 2 pieces And this piece is taller than our gusset. So just keep that in mind. Be really careful that you do not overcut your piece, especially on cork. It would be very sad. Sometimes I'll even undercut and just come back in with scissors and trim it. This one's really cool because the zipper top is actually a little bit wider, or not wider, but taller than the gusset. So you've got a lot of room to get inside that bag, which is nice. Nice. Okay. So I've got my Expo marker here, and I'm just going to kind of cross off what I've already done. So I've got my main panel out of vinyl, one of my gusset pieces, two of my zipper panels, and then we've got our connector piece. Oop. And then I know I'm gonna need to add tape to this eventually anyway, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it now. I'm using the double-sided tape from Weft and Work Co. that I sell on my website. It's my favorite because you can rip it. You don't have to find your scissors that are non-stick, carefully cut it, etc. So I like it. I like it a lot. Okay. So we needed one of those, and then there's a Decaville light stabilizer piece for it, which is nice. And that is it for my exterior, except for my strap. I don't even think I have a piece of cork big enough for this. But I'm wondering if I could cut some cork, and then I could cut some fabric and like piece it together. I like that idea. I could be on board with that. So again, we would want to add a little 1/2 inch mark to follow. Wow, I got real ballsy there. Just did it right on that cork. Yeah, I think this will work out nicely. I'm just gonna do one piece out of the cork this side, and then I'll sew that together, and then the strap is just folded together. You're not putting right sides together and then turning or anything like that, so that's pretty cool. Alright, and then I think instead of piecing this together, I'm gonna add double-sided tape to the top edge and fold it over and just set it on top of my cotton, waterproof cotton. And then this would be a really fun place to add like a woven label. It's gonna sit on the bag depending on how you wear it, kind of like this. So you could even try to add like a little slip pocket or make this into, it's way too big of a slip pocket. If I'd made it smaller, could have made it like a little tiny slip pocket. I don't know. Why? Every time I make a bag, do I need to change every little thing about it? To be honest, this is why I don't write mini patterns anymore, because I'm always thinking of ways to change up a pattern. And when you write your own patterns, it's really hard to write a pattern that can be changed that many ways that won't confuse the ever-living crap out of people. All right. So let's go ahead and start with the strap. This is the biggest piece, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a little daunting for me right now. We're just gonna do it. So I need 2 out of this fabric. This is waterproof cotton that I carry on my website. I don't currently have this print or this solid. Maybe I do. Well, not by the time you see this. But we are working to get more. But it's so soft. It is printed color, so it's a little bit different than what you might normally be used to, but it works. Okay. I do not have sheet metal under my cutting mat, but that is a fun trick. These are just really heavy pattern weights from the Ditto sewing projector. So I've been trying to use them. All right, best I can do. And you want to be really careful cutting this out because a slide adjuster is going to go on this. So you have to make sure that your final piece is the right size. And then I wouldn't like throw this away. This is like the perfect size for the side of this, because we're going to cover that with binding anyway. So, cut that out. I'm going to clean up this edge a little bit. It shifted on me quite a bit. We really need to be exact as possible with it. I'm also clipping my layers together just to prevent all that twisting. And I guess too, you could like rough cut it out and then do a better job cutting it next time. Okay. That looks good. Okay, and then this piece is going to get measured and taped and folded in. So you're going to measure, fold the entire length, and then put right sides together and top stitch around it. But I will be doing that in the construction video, but wanted to update you and let you know that you could also do that while you're cutting it out to save some time. Okay. And then I'm going to just fold this up. So that is my 2 strap pieces, and I ended up cutting those out of waterproof cotton. And then I can move on to my lining, and before I even start on the actual lining pieces, I'm going to cut out my slip pocket piece that I need 2 of. So instead of using my actual pattern piece, I'm just going to use the fabric I've already cut. So this is one of them. So I'm just going to clip this right now to the top half of my back panel. Again, we're going to sew that with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then when you fold this up, top stitch, this becomes the back side of your slip pocket, and then when you add your other lining, it's going to lay over top, and you'll have a little slip pocket on the back of your bag. We will want to add Decaville light or sew fuse to that piece once it's sewn completely, so I may end up doing that before I interface. Okay, so I'm going to cut out my next one. And that will be clipped right sides together. Well, we're going to add our overlay piece to it first, but set it there for now. Okay. So we need to cut 4 of these little tiny pieces mirrored. This is seriously such a cute little tiny itty bitty piece. And then because I'm using this waterproof cotton, I don't need to add any interfacing. It has the same weight as a nicely interfaced cotton fabric, in my opinion. So there's 2 going in that direction. So now I'm going to flip it over. And cut 2 going in the other. go ahead and create a nice straight edge to follow. Okay, so you'll see that that piece is now going in the opposite direction. And again, I'm going to find a straight edge. And you want to see the wrong side up this time, or the opposite of what you have, whatever you did the previous time. And if you find it easier to trace the pattern piece out and then rotary cut or use your scissors, that is perfectly okay. Okay, so those are the only two pieces I need out of this, so I'm going to go ahead and put it away. I can move on to my other lining pieces. Card slots should be okay in this. Let's go ahead and grab our main lining. And if you trust yourself to put like right sides together and cut this out, I say go for it. And then you'd have both of your pieces done at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and cut out my straight sides and then rough cut the other part so that I can more carefully cut the rest. Because these notches are super helpful when you piece the bag together. So there's one. And this is going to have card slots placed, and then we add the side lining panels, and then you open that up and top stitch. So keep in mind your fabric choices for these pieces so that you know you're creating a bag the way you want it to look, more or less. So like if you wanted contrast fabric, slip pockets, take note of that. I'm not going to be adding any interfacing as mentioned previously. And we need 2 of these. And one of these sides gets a zippered slip pocket and the other side gets card slots. You could absolutely choose to omit either one or double either one. So if you didn't want a zippered pocket, you could do 8 card slots or 12. I don't know how many this one makes. And vice versa. Or you could cut out 2 lining main panels and just have a plain, simple interior. The choice is yours. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Okay, we're done with that piece. And now I can mark that off my main lining. All right, we've got card slots, woven interfacing for card slots, zippered pocket 1, zippered pocket 2. We only need one piece of each. All right. So it's been fairly quick to cut out so far, I would say. That's pretty cool. And then we need a duck of the light. So I'm done with my main panel. I don't need anything else. So I'll go ahead and put that away as well. Just trying to clean up as I go. Here's a nice little section that I can cut out my zippered pocket pieces. So this is piece 1. And then piece 2. So I would say we could organize ourselves a little bit by taking one side, our zippered pocket pieces and our sides, and clip all those together. The pattern kind of creates packs within the instructions too, so that's kind of why I was like, well, we'll mimic that. Oh yeah, my lining pieces for the zipper as well. I'm so used to creating clear bags lately, as I'm sure a lot of us are, so I'm like forgetful of what all we need. Alright, let's go ahead and do those card slots. So I've got a 5-inch ruler and a 24-inch ruler, so I'm going to stack these on top of each other to get my final exact measurement. You could also cut this on the fold if you prefer. So there are measurements listed within the pattern to trace on our pieces. So I'll be doing that in the construction video as well, but you could do it at your cutting table and then again create that little pack. Oy, oy, oy. What was I thinking? I cut it 2 inches smaller than it needs to be. Well, we've got something for some time. Try it again, shall we? Okay. Just kidding, didn't mean that. I've just got a really nice straight edge this time, so that'll be good. Oh, okay, I was looking at the woven interfacing measurement, which I don't want to add to this piece. Alright, so I'm not totally bonkers, that's good. So we'll keep all these together. And then we'll cut out our gusset pieces. So for the lining of my zipper panel, I'm gonna cut these a little bit bigger because I can trim it down, but the bulk that gets created at that seam sometimes leaves my lining short on where we attach the zipper. So I'm gonna just know that and create a bigger piece. So there is my lining zipper panel, and then our gusset. There usually aren't issues with the gusset because we're not attaching anything to it, really. I mean, like you are, but you're not. So as long as you cut that nice and straight, should be good. Okay, looks perfect. Alright, so I'm pretty sure all that we have left is Decaville Light or Sofuse Plus, whatever you're gonna do. I'm not adding any woven interfacing to any piece, so it's just stabilizer. Here is my roll of Sofuse Plus. I purchased this from Cast Iron Handcrafted, my friend Monica. And I do offer trial bundles of 1 yard cuts of each on my website if you are interested in trying it out. And you're ordering hardware or something anyway, you could add it to your cart, just saying. Alright. So it looks like there's no interfacing in the zipper panel. It is such a small zipper panel that with binding, etc., I guess it doesn't really need it. But part of me is like, do it anyway. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. So something I like to do to help me decide if I need to interface it or not is kind of hold the fabric pieces together. Just like, okay, so we're gonna add our zipper here. That underneath is gonna add some structure, and then this is gonna get sewn to our other panel, and then we're gonna add binding. So we really only end up with like maybe an inch on each side. So is that really enough to need to add structure? Probably not. So I'll go ahead and skip it. I'll trust Alexis and omit stabilizing that piece. And then 2 main panel stabilizers. I'm going to cut this out of the other side. When I am working with interfacing, I like to have either one piece that is for weird shapes and one piece that's for square shapes, rectangles, and one that's for curvy pieces. But if I don't have that luxury, then I'll just kind of keep one end for straight pieces and the other end for curvy. So I'm going to go ahead and stabilize my 2 pieces so far. Make sure you center that stabilizer very well, or they could look a little wonky in the end. And since this is angled, I'm just going to flip this in the opposite direction. So there is that stabilized. So you can see it's got a lot of good structure. Set those aside. And then you would add your stabilizer to your back panel. Since I'm adding that slip pocket, I have to sew those pieces together first, so it's not something you're going to see me do in this video, but I did do it. So there's that. This was my 2 stabilizer pieces, so it's done. Put it away. Oh, I taped it. That's fair. So this piece actually gets stabilized. I don't know that I really care to stabilize it. I'm not going to. Can hurt though, but I'm not going to. So we've got my gusset, my main panel. So now all that's left out of the stabilizer is my strap stabilizer. And I need 2 of these. So I can cut these in opposite directions and line up that diagonal piece to the other side. And then make sure you're following the correct fusing instructions for this piece. I believe it's going to get placed up maybe an inch or so and then fused into place, but I'm going to double check the pattern before I do it. Okay. So that's it. That is the entire bag cut out. We added a little extra slip pocket, which will be fun. We just need to stabilize that last little bit, and she's ready to sew. So make sure you follow the instructions on how to stabilize that piece, and I will see you in the portion where we sew it together. Bye.